All right, so we are going to start with an opening question just while we give folks a little bit of time to click their links if they need to. And my question is, who is your fictional book crush? I'm going to start with Suzie.
I would say Evelyn Hugo from the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I just, I just loved her. She just was such an awesome character.
Awesome. That's a great one. I love that.
Mhm.
Georgia?
I'm gonna go way back to one of my favorite novels by Ann Patchett is The Magician's Assistant.
Mm.
And her lead character in that, her name is Sabine. And that book, I don't know what it is about that book, but that book moved me in so many ways. And I loved Sabine. And at one point, she starts out as a straight woman, or so you think. And then, partway through the book, she kisses this woman that she's become very close friends with. And it like changes everything about her. And I loved her bravery and I loved her honesty. And she's one of my favorite characters.
Nice. You and I are going to have to talk about that later because
Okay.
I have an issue with that book. And not just
Really?
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't read it in a long time now. So, all right.
There's a whole brother sister thing going on that,
Well, yeah,
or never sat well with me, but we'll talk later.
there is.
Nicole, how about you? A fictional crush?
I'm going to be Susie's counterpart here and say actually Celia St. James from The Seven Husbands
Mm.
of Evelyn Hugo. I
Yeah.
just am a sucker for a talented and passionate and slightly erratic woman.
I love it. Awesome. Okay, so this is a reading panel. It's called Almost There, and everyone is reading a scene that includes some kind of interruption, which is often, like a device in fiction, something that authors will use intentionally to stall the action, to keep the suspense. So to start us off, we have the lovely Georgia Beers. If everybody else could turn off their video and their audio, that'd be great.
All right. I'm going to read to you from my newest book that just came out this week. It's called The Girl Next Door. Um, this scene takes place at the public market. It isn't really an interruption between the main characters, but it is an interruption that has to do with Sawyer, who is one of our main characters, and Jenna, who is our other main character. They now live in opposite sides of a duplex, so they're very close neighbors. Sawyer is a book blogger who hates the romance genre. Jenna owns a romance only bookstore, and Sawyer has blogged about how much she hates romance and why, and then moved in next door to Jenna. So they got off on the very wrong foot and don't know each other very well. Everything is tentative, but Sawyer and her mom are at the public market, and that's where we are right now. Sawyer loved the public market, but hated the crowds. That's why going in the fall was preferable. True, there was less to choose from as far as produce went. So much was no longer in season in the Northeast. But part of going was simply the atmosphere, the ambiance, wandering rows of vendor tables, sampling different foods, sometimes listening to live music. It was a feature of Northwood that she loved. That Sunday morning, her mother was with her, and they strolled casually, lattes in hand, sampling different honeys at the table of a local beekeeper they'd come to know. Oh, this one's a bit more floral, her mother said, and beekeeper Ted smiled at her like she was his prize pupil. They each bought a jar. They moved on down the row, sipping their lattes and carrying their honey. How's the new house? Her mom asked. And when are you having me over for dinner? Soon as I learn to cook, Sawyer said with a grin. How about I bring over something on Monday night? They stopped at a table featuring various cured meats and homemade pepperonis. Monday would work, Sawyer said. I didn't know you could make pepperoni at home, did you? Her mother picked up a little paper tray with a bite of pepperoni on it. You can make sausage, so I guess pepperoni isn't all that different. Sawyer shrugged and popped her own sample into her mouth. Holy crap, she said immediately as her eyes started to water. What? Her mother chewed and swallowed and simply looked at her. Spicy. Sawyer managed to say, trying to finish chewing and swallow while her mouth was on fire. Really? Mine wasn't. Mom, it's the same pepperoni. Why am I the only one dying? Because you're a wimp. Oh my God. She rifled through her bag and came up with a tissue, pressed it to her eyes. You're so dramatic, her mom teased. Tissue to her nose, she blew, glanced up, and met a curious brown-eyed gaze 3 tables down. The figure was blurry, thanks to all the watering her eyes were doing, and seemed to have an armload of fresh flowers. She blinked several more times, and the person became clear. Jenna. Choking back a cough, she finished blowing her nose, then dabbed at her watering eyes some more and lifted a hand in a half-hearted wave. Jenna started walking toward her, and there was no escape. Everything okay over here? Jenna asked, with an uncertain smile as Sawyer coughed a little more. Should I call an ambulance? Hilarious, Sawyer said with a grin. This pepperoni just tried to kill me. My daughter is just a little sensitive when it comes to spicy food, her mom said, clearly enjoying Sawyer's misery as she stroked Sawyer's arm as if she were a small child. Oh, that's so sad, Jenna said, her grin telling Sawyer that she too was finding the level of tears and snot and discomfort entertaining. Sawyer sipped her latte, hoping the creaminess of it would help alleviate the volcano in her mouth. After a moment, she cleared her throat, wiped at her eyes, and made the introductions. Sorry, Mom, you remember Jenna, my next-door neighbor? Jenna, my mother, Allie Hall. Ah, yes, the girl next door. Her mom said it like she knew something neither she nor Jenna did. They shook hands, and her mom asked, How are things on the other side of the duplex? They're good. Jenna shifted the flowers into her other arm. Can't complain. The new neighbor okay? Not obnoxious or playing music too loud? Mom, Sawyer said, sounding like she was 7 years old and being embarrassed by her mother in front of her friends. So far, so good, Jenna said, her eyes shifting from Sawyer's mother to Sawyer. But it's still early days. Sawyer's mom laughed at what Sawyer wasn't sure was a joke. And that adorable dog of yours? Oh, he's great. This time Jenna's smile was big, genuine. He's the best. Spoiled rotten, as usual. As it should be, her mom said. Her eyes lit up, followed by a little gasp, the way they always did when she thought she had a good idea that often wasn't. No, I have a fabulous idea. Oh, no. Are you busy Monday evening? Jenna blinked rapidly several times, and Sawyer could tell she'd been taken off guard. It's actually my day off, so no. Excellent. I'm ordering dinner to have at Sawyer's. You'll join us. Anything you don't eat? No. Great. It's settled. Come by around 6:30 and bring that adorable dog of yours. Sawyer's mother was far too pleased with herself. So good seeing you, Jenna. I look forward to getting to know you better. Same, Jenna said, lifting a hand as Sawyer's mom continued down the aisle. Sawyer mouthed, I'm so sorry, as she passed by Jenna, sniffing and still dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. But Jenna was smiling, little crinkles at the corners of her eyes, and she said very quietly, Don't be. And something about those two small words caused a flutter of butterflies low in Sawyer's abdomen. Then she turned and followed her mother. She waited until they were plenty far from Jenna so that she was sure she wouldn't be heard before she hissed, What the hell was that? What was what? Her mother asked, all innocence, flipping through a bin of small plastic bags filled with dried herbs. I barely know her, and now she's coming to dinner? Sawyer kept her voice low and made surreptitious glances down the aisle. She could still see Jenna, but she was far away. I can't think of a better way to get to know someone than have them over for dinner. Can you? They moved on to the next table. Sawyer shouldn't have been surprised. This was how her mom operated, and it wasn't for any other reason than she wanted to help. Telling her she was butting in or her opinions were unwelcome never went over well, and always ended with her mom either in tears or feeling very insulted or hurt, or both. The best thing Sawyer could do now was let it be. Her mom meant well. She always had Sawyer's best interests at heart, even when she went about things the absolutely 100% worst way possible. When she saw Jenna at home later, she'd just tell her it was totally okay to bow out, that she was under no obligation to come to dinner. No pressure at all. Thank you.
Oh, moms, what are you gonna do, right? I feel like it's gonna, turn out okay though. I think
Of
mom
course it
has some
will.
intuition.
But we got to go through the bumps first.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Next up, we have Nicole Disney. Hello, hello. Please introduce
Hello.
yourself and your book whenever you're ready.
So today I'm going to read from Tap Out. This is a follow-up to The Clinch, but it also stands alone. It's not necessary to read them in order, but it's probably a bit of a bonus if you do. I interpreted the interruption theme a little bit more in an abstract way. So at this point in the story, Layla, who has wanted to be a professional MMA fighter for her entire life, has decided to walk away from that dream after losing a really important fight. So she's recently fought with one of her very good friends. She's left her beloved gym and her coach behind. She's really struggling with what it means to move on and trying to make peace with that. And then life interrupts when her crush decides to walk in the middle of her new workday and what that new life is. People act like wanting to get hit for a living is so unimaginable, yet will turn around and work in a restaurant as if that isn't torture. If you're not sweating over open flames and burning yourself on searing pans, you're probably slicing yourself open or shish kebabbing yourself on hidden pointy things under disgusting dishwater. You can escape that if the rancid smell of emptying grease into dripping, eroding bins is your thing, or there's hauling heavy dishes to the back where you get to scrape children's booger cocktails from plates. If you're remotely attractive or socially competent, they'll put you in the front of house, where you'll be verbally assaulted and psychologically abused by people fresh out of church who hate their spouse and tip and change. In those sweet moments where the sadistic sociopaths known as customers finally leave, you'll enjoy a full 5 seconds of peace before some overeager shift manager in a collared shirt comes along trying to prove they're earning their $1 an hour more by saying something like, "If you have time to lean, you have time to clean." If you don't decide prison is a better fate and murder this individual, you'll now be acting like a fucking meth addict for the next 4 hours, pulling down vents and disassembling equipment so you can scrape mystery black shit out of crevices that were never meant to see daylight. I'd say there must be something to being the owner that makes it all rewarding in some way, but my uncle has owned this nightmare for 10 years and looks just as miserable in his Charlie's Chicken memorabilia as the rest of us. His bitch list includes unreliable employees, anyone else having the audacity to sell chicken within a 1 mile radius, and the fragility of managing food costs when cooks can't hit a correct portion despite having a scale beside them. My uncle has told me since the day he opened the place that I have a job with him if I ever want one. Don't get me wrong, I'm grateful. He made good on that without question. I'd be lying if I said I knew the going rate for a chicken girl, but I'd be willing to bet it's even less than I'm making. Again, I'm grateful. I'd also be lying if I said I didn't fantasize at least 8 times a day about the one-sided violence I'm capable of imposing on these unsuspecting brats. Every time a customer gets a smart mouth about their overly precious order or a cook expects me to grovel for a side of ranch, flashes of me Sparta kicking them in the chest hard enough to send them across the room fill my mind. Excuse me, we've been waiting for like ever. Does anyone even work here? She's in her late 20s and wearing a tube top and a chicken joint at 2 in the afternoon, a story I don't need to hear. I see my abandoned profession everywhere. It amazes me how antagonistic people are willing to be without a single combat skill to their name. It would be child's play to throw a rear naked choke on this woman, drag her to the ground. Yes, I'll be right with you. I motion for her to calm her britches into one of the cheap plastic seats. I'm really not as violent as all this. I'm a lover, a joker. Is it possible I simply miss fighting already? It's only been a month. All the bruises have just finally faded. Is that all it takes to forget the hyperventilating mass I was on the bathroom floor? Or is it just that this woman poses no threat to me? Am I just a bully? Eager to use my skills on people who have no hope of reciprocating? That won't do. You can't be a tough guy part-time, and you're not tough at all for being able to sucker punch an unsuspecting chick who survives on fried chicken and sarcasm. I have to let Layla the fighter go. I'm Layla the chicken girl. Not a title I would have picked, but if you're gonna be a quitter, the least you can do is own it. Okay, what can I start you with? She rolls her eyes to signal I owed her an apology, but I just poise my pen over the pad and she relents, orders a spicy fried chicken sandwich and fried Oreos. The truth is, most people are Sparta kicking themselves in the chest anyway with these food choices. Coming up. I turn just in time to catch a flash of Harlow and Vic coming through the front door with 2 other people. Cold dread sucks the life from me. My legs feel weak as I scramble around the kitchen wall before they can see. I hope before they can see me anyway. I look for someone, anyone, to bribe with my entire day's wages in exchange for getting me out of this, but there's no one. It's a skeleton crew, as it often is. I'm fucked. I look down at my uniform as if I don't already know how ugly it is. The world's least flattering, shapeless, rough fabric, deep blue with red hems and a yellow cartoon chicken in what can only be described as a roadrunner pose. I'm responsible for my own pants as long as they're black, and though I own many pair that make my ass look great, of course it's laundry day. I'm wearing the ones that are around a decade old and have patches of faded color that make them look dirty even when they're not. This is the last place I ever thought I would care, but life never misses a chance to add insult to injury. I look like this is actually my natural habitat, for God's sake. I dip into the bathroom and rip the hat off. The chances my uncle will be around in the next hour are nil. I wet my hands and try to make my hair stand in its usual way. Of course, it doesn't want to, but it's better than the hat. I pull open the two buttons available to me on my shirt, even though I don't have enough chest to fill it that high. I breathe and try to demand the confidence to go out there and take their order without literally dying from embarrassment. From the brink of the UFC to disgraced loser to chicken girl. I set my jaw and armor up. When I pull open the door, Harlow is there, standing in the hallway. I freeze as we lock eyes. The urge to sock her for looking so good competes with the urge to paint a picture or write a song about it. What are you doing here? I can't hide that I'm furious at her for being that hot in my presence at this particular moment. Eating, hopefully, she says. I thought I saw you, but I wasn't sure. I throw my hat at the register like she won't see it, even though all it does is draw her attention to it. She cracks a smile. So it is you. I sigh. Yes, it's me. I'll come take your order. Just give me a second. Hey, I'm sorry if we're invading your space. We come here all the time. It's kind of a hot spot. I didn't know you worked here. It's new. And temporary, I want to say, but I'm not sure if that's true. Vic is out there, she says. I'm not supposed to hit the customers. Harlow laughs. And that sound is so nice I forget to be embarrassed for a second. Want me to hit her for you? No, I'll have the guys spit on her chicken. Yikes, remind me not to mess with you. If you need reminding, I can't help you. She smiles again before she drops her voice to a more serious tone. Are you okay? There's a feeling in the back of my throat I would describe as approaching tears if I wasn't willing to claw my own jugular out to make sure I don't do that. It's never been hard for me to cry, but lately it's been flat out excessive. Sure, of course. Why? This just doesn't seem very you. Last time we talked, you had some kind of situation going on with your boss, and now you work here. I'm just doing some basic math. Her brow is soft under a backward hat. She's wearing the hell out of that thing with her long blonde hair left down. Maybe I should have worn my hat that way, though I doubt I'd have had the same results. She leans on the wall, indicating she'll wait for an answer. I can't help but notice how long she is, how athletic. And now I find she can do basic math, too. I'm not I'm not fighting out of Emerald Tiger anymore, or at all, actually. She nods, looks me over. You couldn't keep your job at least? I quit. I catch a brief but transparent expression that says out loud just how clearly she thinks that's stupid. It makes me irrationally mad, considering she didn't even voice it. I had to, okay? I couldn't be around that and not be in it, just over and over again, not being allowed to forget about it. Okay, she says. Sorry, I just thought it would be better than this, but you know what's right for you. I'm just glad you weren't fired. Of course it was better than this. I'm not sure why I'm so mad. Well, can you get the job back? Probably, I snap, even as guilt washes over me, looking at her poor, confused face. I sigh. I'm sorry, I'm being irrational. I'm getting used to it. Fuck you. I laugh and she cracks a beautiful, genuine smile. Look, I just can't go back. It's hard to explain. I get it, she says, more than you might think. I just didn't know you had this hidden talent for fried chicken. More like a hidden uncle and an empty bank account. A hidden uncle. He owns the place, my uncle. Easy job, that's all. Your uncle is Charlie, she asks. Tony. Okay, she says, and Charlie is a name that goes well with chicken. She cracks another smile that makes me realize that smile, that mouth, might be the feature that makes her so damn sexy. Her eyes are such a beautiful bright color between gray and blue, you assume it's that. But that smile, the way the corner of her mouth is always pulling into a smirk like she's thinking something dirty, it's making me dizzy. You're kidding, she says. There's no Charlie? There's a Charlie? His name is just Tony. No one wants Tony's chicken. Well, as fun as your uncle sounds, if this isn't what you want and you need to make some money another way, all you have to do is call. My brain glitches at the ease with which she offers it, like it's nothing, like she's swimming in so much money she could well be rid of some. My mind catches up with how Harlow makes her money and how I'd have to make it from her. I know I gave you shit for not offering me a fight, but the truth is I can't take it anyway. I'm not fighting anymore. I didn't mean a fight, Moretti. I heard what you said. I mean working with me, helping set up and tear down events, getting fighters where they need to be, that kind of thing. I mean, it doesn't pay as much as a fight, but it's not half bad compared to this. I've got one coming up Saturday. I could give you 500 the night, cash, no strings. 500. It would take the better part of a week to make that here, and I know I don't do much in the way of keeping that fact off my face. Seriously? She shrugs. Sure, if you want. A sweet little voice tells me it pays that much and pays it in cash because it's fucking illegal. But that soft little girl voice gets trampled by the money goblin holding out its greedy fingers. Then comes Eden's voice telling me to be careful. I'm sure this is exactly the kind of thing she means, but Harlow's eyes are so kind and the pressure non-existent. She's offering to help, and I want help. Okay, that would be good. Yeah? If you're sure, if you really need the help, I'm not an orphan. Don't put yourself out. I'll pick you up at 8.
I'm not an orphan. That's great. That's such a great voice. I think we have a panel later on point of view characters you'd follow anywhere. And I was like, should have put you on that one. That's a great voice.
Well, thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Rachel Sullivan. She cannot join us today, but she has sent a recording, which I am going to play for you now.
Hello, my name is Rachel Sullivan, and I write books to push the human rights agenda. My books are urban fantasy, contemporary, and some of them are romance, and some of them have romantic elements in them. My newest book out with Bold Strokes Books is To Love Violets for Their Thorns. This one is a contemporary romance, and it is the one I'm going to be reading out of today. In this story, our two loves are Sonia and Ellie. This story follows Sonia and Ellie as they go on a sapphic reality dating show. What they don't realize, though, and they do right before this scene, is this sapphic reality dating show has a twist. It comes with the fact that half of the contestants are exes, because what's more sapphic than having to date with your ex around? So Ellie and Sonia have gone on the show. They have realized what the twist is and that they are together. They have not seen each other for a year since Sonia broke up with Ellie over the phone, and they were engaged, so it was kind of a big deal. So let's go on into it. What's happening in the story right now is Sonia is looking for Ellie. She's been trying to have a conversation with Ellie, private, away from everyone, to kind of discuss how they want to deal with this whole being together in this villa. So they're all in a villa, they're in Spain, and she is looking for Ellie. All right. I listened for Ellie's laugh for half a second before losing patience and heading for the dining area. Before I turned past the end of the granite countertop and swung a right from the kitchen to the dining area, the sheer light blue of Ellie's dress floated on a breeze, swung up from the opening door of the confession room. As if she was dancing, a dancing flame, and I the moth, I found myself inhaling her hippie herbal scent without the cognitive decision to go to her. I stood steady on the uneven entrance tiles, my right hand on the doorknob to the confessional room. Ellie, eyes wide and chin tilted up, also had her hand on the door's knob, the other side. We stood still, frozen in a moment I doubted either of us saw coming. A moment growing larger by the passing milliseconds, filling to burst. Her stubborn eyes stayed locked onto mine from the moment she looked up and saw me standing on the other side of the door. Like an ever-shifting puzzle matrix, emotions flashed across her light brown irises, and though the knitting and unknitting of her brow. Actual thoughts didn't exist in this moment, our moment. How could they compete with the absolute takeover of repressed need? When her chest rose hard and fast, when her lips opened from a gasp, when they closed on an audible cry, the kind that crawled from the depths of pain, I wrapped my left arm around her waist to stabilize her. I pushed us both into the small room and shut the door behind us. A salt lamp lit the narrow space in a dull orange glow, shielding me from seeing much. I held her against me, my nose and her hair, her breath on my shoulder. Tears wound down my cheeks and fell into the crown of her head. I couldn't believe I was holding Ellie, my Ellie. The reality of the moment burst inside like fireworks. I never thought I would get to feel her again. A sob racked me and my knees gave out. Together, we crumbled to the floor, our arms refusing to let go. In the quiet darkness, filled with muffled sobs, I pulled her onto my lap and squeezed her closer. This woman, she was my everything. Her fingers pressed into my sides as though she clawed for me. I wished I could melt into her, become one being, so I would never have to leave her presence again. I fucked up when I let her go. I let go of everything and hadn't been the same since. Without Ellie, life just didn't sparkle the same. Colors lost their burst, food lost its flair. Ellie brought flavor to my life in ways I couldn't fathom until she was gone. Bringing my right hand up her back through her long hair to the base of her skull, I lifted her face to mine. Our mouths neared hesitantly before a soft test of a kiss. Ellie inhaled on a sob. She pulled away enough for me to see the sheen of tears glimmering in her eyes, their streams gliding down her cheeks. I couldn't think enough to speak. She exhaled on a whimper, and I placed both hands behind her head, lowering myself to meet her lips with a passion burning a hole through me, with want for this woman, only this woman. Her mouth opened, and I groaned in response, eager to be as close and connected to Ellie as possible. Entangling my tongue with hers, I lowered my hand onto the small of her back and clutched her to me. If I could drink from the fountain of Ellie and the rest of my life, I would be a blessed human. Baby, she cried into my ear after pulling out of our kiss to reposition herself on me. That's all I needed. With my arms still around her waist, I pulled her frame from the floor and tucked her up into my embrace, carrying her to the love seat. Gently setting her down, I placed her head on the cushioned arm of the couch. My forearm tucked under her neck, I straddled Ellie, my knees pressing into cushions. My heart beat wildly. She grabbed my neck and forced me into her. I let go and allowed my weight to press into her as her legs wrapped around my waist and sheer panels of her dress fell to the side. I buried my nose into her neck and inhaled my favorite oxygen, kissing every centimeter of skin within reach. She tilted her head, giving me access. Ellie moaned for more, grabbing the back of my head again and tangling her tongue with mine. Greedily, I took whatever she wanted to give. Wave after wave of need, joy, and fear rushed over me, knocking my thoughts into indiscernible fragments. Ellie pushed her torso up and leaned on an elbow, shoving her chest into mine, her nails digging into my ass through my dress slacks. That was all I needed to crawl my fingers up her smooth, strong thigh toward her hip. I so missed her hips. Baby, Ellie moaned while trailing kisses down the side of my neck. Touch me. I'm here, I said, before kissing her head. I'm not going anywhere. She grabbed her hand from her thigh and placed it between my leg. She grabbed my hand from her thigh and placed it between her legs. Touch me. I froze. It wasn't that everything in my body didn't demand I do exactly that, touch her, all of her. But she meant more to me than our bodily demands. Our tears weren't even dry yet. We had a lot to unpack before sex. It wasn't like Ellie to rush straight to the physical, especially after everything that went on between us. She usually had to cool off after any type of argument before cuddling with me. She called it her regulation time. I leaned on my arms to hold me above her, pulling us apart. She released her hold on me. Her soft expression hardened as she looked up. What? She asked dryly. I jumped off her and stood above the love seat, shocked. My thoughts knocked into each other as I stared down at a version of Ellie I didn't remember. She fumbled with her dress strap, sat up, and smoothed her hair. Well, that stint was quick, wasn't it? She said with a huff. She lost her footing and stumbled sideways toward a little round table. The vodka bottle came into view as I lunged forward to help her. She slapped at the air and I lost my balance, trying not to get swatted. She must have noticed me eyeing the bottle on the side table because she turned to see where I looked. Oh, there it is, she said. Clutching the bottle to her chest, she made her way out of the confession room. And that is my little bit and piece. Bye. Thank you.
Okay, that was Rachel Sullivan bringing the heat. Next up, we have Suzie Clarke.
Well, I'm Suzie Clarke. I usually write romantic blend, which can be action adventure. This last book that I have written is called Secrets Under the Junipers. It is about a cold case file that a body has been discovered of a young girl after 30 years, and it's a story of two characters, the FBI investigator on the case, and also the person who was the best friend of the little girl, who saw her disappear, but has blocked the memories and has no recollection of what happened. But she wants to tell, but she just can't remember. So it's the story of, like I said, these two characters and their struggles. I know our theme is interruption. Basically, what the interruption here at this first beginning of the chapter is that they bring all these issues with them to and all these secrets that both of these characters have to this investigation and trying to discover who killed Hallie Lynn Peoples, who was the little girl. So it not necessarily a sexual interruption or whatever, but this scene that I'm going to read to you this morning is it's the very first meeting of the two main characters, who is McConnell, who is the FBI investigator, and Bitsy, who is the best friend of the little girl that was killed. And again, it's been 30 years since this incident has happened. So we'll go ahead and start from there. A tall, slender woman appeared from the room on the right. It was her. McConnell knew her, well, knew of her. She recognized her from the newspaper pictures and case files from years ago. Mary Elizabeth Hanover, Bitsy, now 41, a year older than McConnell. Her beauty was striking, unexpected, and it caught McConnell off guard. She lowered her gaze to the gray mottled plush carpet, allowing herself a moment to settle her thoughts. Hanover continued to stride toward her, her sea green eyes moving over McConnell like she was exploring every part of her. A faint smile crossed her lips. If McConnell hadn't disliked her so much for so many years, she might have enjoyed this meeting. She held out her hand toward McConnell and said hello. I'm Mary Elizabeth Hanover, Bitsy. Her southern voice was sexy and clear, melodic, like saxophone music in a dimly lit nightclub. They shook hands. I'm FBI Special Agent McConnell. If you don't mind, please call me McConnell. She'd stammered and croaked the words out, her mouth dry, like she'd been sucking air through a straw. It was embarrassing. She was more nervous about meeting her than she'd expected. So far, she wasn't the cold, heartless bitch McConnell had imagined she'd be. But then the day wasn't over yet. Mary Elizabeth Hanover, or Bitsy as she'd said, was standing in front of her after all these years of reading about her, studying the case, scouring every detail over and over. McConnell had never spoken to her for any length of time, only long enough for Bitsy to hang up on her about 6 years ago. McConnell tried to arrange a meeting to talk with her about Hallie Lynn's abduction, but Bitsy wanted no part of it. To be fair, though, McConnell hadn't identified herself as an FBI agent back then. Bitsy had no idea who she was. They lived states apart, and their lives were no more similar and not similar in any way, except for the cold case. That's what connected them, more than Bitsy could possibly imagine. McConnell blamed her for so long for not remembering what she saw the night of Hallie Lynn's abduction, that it seemed like a paradox to be this close to her and not feel the resentment and anger that had clung to her all these years. If Bitsy had remembered what she'd seen the night Hallie Lynn was taken, the authorities could have found her, saved her. Now the cold case had been blown wide open by the discovery and identification of her remains. She needed Bitsy to remember. One little detail might break the case and identify Hallie Lynn's killer. Bitsy had remained silent about it all these years, refusing to discuss it. It was locked in her mind somewhere. And now that Hallie Lynn had been found, McConnell was determined to pry the information she needed out of her any way she could. Come on back, Bitsy said. The smile disappeared, and a deep sadness replaced the musical lilt in her voice. McConnell wasn't expecting to hear grief in her tone. After all, it had been 30 years. She assumed Bitsy'd let go of it, let go of the tragedy long ago and moved on with her life, unlike McConnell, who'd been consumed by it from the moment she'd found out her own relationship to Hallie Lynn Peoples. Bitsy was slightly taller than McConnell and put together nicely, but the sorrow in her eyes was clear, and she looked like she hadn't had a decent night's sleep in a long, long time. She motioned for McConnell to follow her, walking with a graceful sway. McConnell found herself enjoying the show. It was confusing, and the pleasant sensations associated with Bitsy Hanover were foreign and unexpected. But as enjoyable as they were, McConnell pushed them aside. The pressure was on to find the killer, and she needed to focus all her efforts. Interviewing a critical witness was just one of the many tasks. Would it help or hinder that Bitsy knew who McConnell was? Would she be able to figure it out? Should McConnell keep it hidden? What was the best thing to do? One thing was clear. If the Bureau discovered who she was, she'd be suspended, fired, or worse. Everything at a price. How much was McConnell willing to pay to solve this case? Okay.
That was awesome. Thank you. That was a very interesting take on interruptions. I like it.
Well, it was so hard to do it because I didn't want to give away any of the plot, you know.
Yes. Yeah, that's totally fair. And I think that was a great intro to the stakes of the novel.
Thank you.
If everyone else can rejoin, we do have a few minutes. If anyone wants to post questions in the Q&A, I will ask those. To start us off, my question, very simple, is why, as a writer, would you write an interruption? Nicole, you look like you have an answer.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think interruptions are just so useful to let you get on the brink of some tension. You're escalating the tension, but as soon as you satisfy whatever that tension is built around, it's gone. So it's a way to kind of get to the edge of that and utilize the tension, but not ruin it for the rest of the book so you can revisit it again.
Yeah. Yeah. Georgia, you agree?
Yeah, and you had said at the beginning of this hour that it keeps the suspense going. So I think that's also part of it. You know, you get a little close and then you pull back, and a little close and then you pull back, and it's a good tool.
Yeah.
Keep people reading.
Yeah. The push-pull dynamic, especially in a romance too. And also
Absolutely.
in mystery. Yeah. Susie, how about you? Why would you write an interruption?
I think obviously what Nicole and Georgia has said, but also I think too it is a way of explaining the characters. It's a way for the readers to get to know those characters under stressful situations. You know, when you interrupts, especially not just necessarily sex scenes, but when you interrupt intimate scenes in whatever way they are, it is a way of showing the characters more deeply, of being able to help them express their emotions more deeply too.
Yeah, I think you can really truly get to know someone in terms of how they deal with something like that. See a side of them for sure. Just a comment in the chat. I love an interruption spiced with humor. So we're talking about like kind of the emotional reaction. Sorry, that's my dog in the background. The emotional reactions to interruptions. So what's your favorite? Do you use humor? Do you use frustration? What's your kind of like go-to when you are writing an interruption? We'll start with Susie.
I use both. It just depends on the situation, what kind of situation the characters are in, and what kind of mood I want to bring into the characters. I've written very serious interruptions, or some that everybody it's just light and it's fun to read it. So I think it just kind of depends on the characters and what you want to build at that particular moment with those scenes.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else have anything to add?
I think I would lean more towards humor just because I think I write that better than frustration or more serious things. Plus, the nature of what I write is, more rom-commy than serious drama. So I think that I tend to lean towards using humor for that stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of like what we would hope, like how we would hope people would react, right?
Exactly.
You want to write a romance where somebody, gets like real angry when they're interrupted.
Yeah.
For sure.
I
Yeah.
I had seen once in Shadow Dancers, which is the third of the Shadow series, and they're on a ship, and it's just a really romantic time for the two main characters, and the friend knocks on the door, and it just exploded. The whole thing just exploded because a friend was there because she knew what was going on inside, and she was not supposed to interrupt them. It was serious, but it ended up being really funny of what happened and what they did. So, and I can see where Georgia likes to write more humorous because of what she writes. Where with me, I'm, it can be very. I wrote heavy, serious, and then it can be light too. So.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great point. Nicole, how about you? Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think that humor is definitely a go-to for me as well. I think that just kind of the nature of interruptions lend really well to humor because you're probably on the verge of a pretty serious moment. If you're building that tension, if you're trying to break that, humor is going to provide that contrast. So it's going to actually break up the moment. It's kind of hard to go from a serious moment to a more serious moment and have it actually feel like a tone or pace change. So I think humor is very natural. And it's kind of humorous by nature too if you're dealing with multiple interruptions of the same thing, like a romantic tension, but they keep getting interrupted. It kind of becomes funny just that they keep getting interrupted. So it's pretty easy to add on to that it's also kind of a silly moment.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's a good point. So what about the emotions in the reader? How do we find the balance between, we're talking about raising the stakes or creating tension. How do you balance that with the readers kind of getting frustrated that the action has stalled? Any tips or tricks? Maybe that's part of why we rely on humor to keep it light.
I think you have to have a real sense as a writer. You have to have a sense where the line is. You can take it too far. I mean, you can take it to the point where they're interrupted so much as forget this on. It takes the reader right out of the story. So I think you have to have that fine line where you've got it right. It's balanced. You've got it right where you want it to be, enough to suck in the reader. Draw the reader in so that they're all in with it. Whatever happens, they're all into that moment.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you also have to give them a breather every now and then.
Mhm.
You can have something be really, really tense and you can have it almost be too tense. And I feel like a little bit of comic relief sometimes gives them a chance to go, okay, now I'm okay. And now we can dive back in.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Probably also chapter breaks work, really well for that too. If you kind of like end your chapter on an interruption and
Mhm.
the scene is broken and the reader gets a rest for sure. Nicole?
I think that one of the keys to keeping your reader happy, and you want the right kind of frustration, you want a little bit, but not too much. But I think the best way to keep it from becoming too much is you've satisfied some amount of what they wanted to happen. You're not stopping before anything every time. You give them a little bit more that they feel like the story has changed, we've gotten somewhere, but you're not going to just completely wrap everything up in one scene. So you're giving them you're not stopping at the same interruption point each time. They're getting a little bit more out of the scene. So they do still come away with some satisfaction alongside the frustration.
Mm. Yep. Yeah, that's a really good point too. It's all about that balance. So Anne Hart has a question. What is your favorite interruption scene that you have written? And why is it your favorite? I know, we're all thinking. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
It wasn't me. It's a good question though. Susie, yes.
I've got one, and I already mentioned it. It's one of the scenes in Shadow Dancers where they're on the boat and they're on this big yacht. Not just a boat; that they're on a cruise. Really, several of them are on this cruise together. And Rachel and Claire are in their suite, and they are ready to really go at it. And their friend comes in and knocks on the door because she's having her own crisis and she wants to talk to him, and they're telling her, Claire's saying, go away, come back later. They're yelling through the door, and her friend says, I have to talk to you right now. And she goes, no, you do not have to talk to us right now. And it goes, as banter goes on, and I just love the way they interacted and how it ended too.
Lovely. Awesome. Georgia?
I can't think of one off the top of my head. I'm sure there is one, but nothing is coming to me at the moment.
I can't remember the title of the book, but there's a kiss in a hallway in one of your books that I still remember, and I don't remember the book or like anything else that happens, but I remember this kiss that gets
That might be, is that The Shape of You? After they're cleaning up the smoothie that they spill on each other, gets spilled on one of the characters, and they like just about kiss, and then one of the other employees walks through, and then they don't. I think it might be that one. I think
Okay.
it
All
might be that
right.
one.
We're gonna go with that one.
We're gonna go with that. Let's go with
Hey, I
that.
like the one, A Walk in the Snow. Is that, what was the name of the one with the snow?
Oh, what
Oh,
one walking
One
with
Walk in Winter.
Yeah, One Walk in Winter. I love the part where they're in the office and they ended up having some sex and she comes out of the office in her blouse. Her blouse.
Oh yes, it's Inside
That's
Out.
hilarious. Oh my gosh, that was such a great scene. I love it.
All right. And Nicole, favorite interruption scene that you've written?
I'm struggling to think of one. Like, I've got one in mind just because I just wrote it. It's for my upcoming book, Everything That Falls. It comes out in June. And I don't know if it's the best one I've ever written, but it is cute. So the two main characters are finally back at one of their houses and they're finally thinking that things are going to happen between them. And right in the middle of this super hot and heavy kiss, one of the characters' dogs comes up and just like sticks her nose in the middle of everything. And who doesn't love a dog? So I mean, like, I'm like, all right, that's fair. And I think we've all probably experienced some version of that.
For sure. That's a great way to introduce humor. I love that.
100%.
All right, we have a couple of minutes. So since Nicole just gave me the idea, let's plug what we are working on now. So you all read from like your most recent releases, but what are you currently writing, Georgia?
I am currently writing a book called Baby Steps. I actually just started it. What's today? Saturday. I just started it on Thursday, so I'm about 5,000 words in. It's my take on the nanny mom story. I think I got a little bit of a different angle. I'm putting my own spin on it, but I'm really, really enjoying it already, which is a good sign.
Awesome. I like the double entendre too. It's good.
Yeah.
Susie, how about you? What are you currently working on?
I'm working on a book. It's a crime mystery book again. It's called Cry Me a River. It's about a woman who uh, is betrayed by a woman that she loves. And it's a story of what happens to her and how she gets even and how everything works out at the end.
Okay, revenge story, like it. And Nicole, what are you working on?
I'm on the exact opposite end of the spectrum as Georgia. I just finished this one. It's called Everything
Nice.
That Falls, and it's about a free solo climber. So she climbs extreme mountains with no ropes or anything. She's part of an extreme stunt group with her friends, and they do all these crazy things all over the world. And then while doing this very dangerous stunt, ends up having an accident and has to be rescued by search and rescue. And this character has been in search and rescue for many years and has just zero patience. She's not amused at all by people who put themselves in harm's way. So they clash and have to deal with that all on the side of a mountain.
How much research did you have to do on that? Like, did you climb anything on your own?
I did so much research.
Uh,
Yes, good call noticing that because oh my God, I've never done so much research.
I
But
would
yes, it was a
think
lot
I
of fun
watched
though.
Free Solo, and those people that's a very certain group of people that put I mean, holy cow, talk about dangerous.
Yeah, just
Wow.
watching it makes you sweat, right? You're like, oh my
Mhm.
God.
But also the
hmm
strength to just pull yourself. Oh my gosh, it was incredible. So, I
Yes,
look forward to
it's
that one.
amazing. It was a ton of research, but it was very fun research. It's so
I bet.
fascinating.
Very cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. This was such a fun panel. Please do check out our sale. All our 2025 ebooks through March of 2026 are on sale this weekend if you would like to grab the books these guys read from. Thanks, everybody. Oh, next up, we have a panel starting at 12, Intimacy Beyond Sex. So if you have not signed up for that, please sign up. You can grab the link at the Bold Strokes Books website on the homepage. Thank you.